Please welcome John Petty.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. It was great that Wally kind of took us from 10,000 feet in the historical perspective. Bob followed up with some great real-world analysis, and I'm going to try and even bring it a little closer. I really didn't have anything prepared tonight. I was asked to come and speak and kind of give some of the benefit of my experience on the County Planning Commission. Riverside County, as probably many of you know, has been the fastest growing county in the state of California. For many years now, it was actually in 2006, I think the fourth fastest growing county in the entire United States. I was appointed in January of 1997, and I've been on, for the most part, pretty much solid since then. So I have seen, a huge wave of development and been really in the trenches for many, many years. The other thing that I do is real estate development. So I have seen this from both sides of the counter. What's fascinating to me is how this concept of sustainability and smart growth has, as Bob very adequately and adroitly mentioned, is pervaded itself from the planners that are implementing these plans on a day-to-day basis. It's interesting that after you have sat through 10 or 15 seminars or presentations by the experts that come in and want to convince you that smart growth and sustainability is the wave of the future and that we have to do this, you start saying to yourself, what are they not seeing, or what are they seeing that I'm not seeing? Because if you sit through enough of these, you get the impression that not only have they completely consumed the Kool-Aid, but they're now pouring it to everybody that they can pour it to. And it's amazing to me that, when we have the inevitable follow-up questions at the end of these presentations, and I'm not bashful about, asking some questions. And my usual comment is, especially with the smart growth people and the high density communities, is, okay, do you have anything that empirically shows that dense development reduces all of the impacts that you say it reduces? Well, no, we really don't. And I say, can you demonstrate that by implementing this high density development that you're not going to exacerbate the same kinds of impacts that you're saying that you will reduce? And they have no answer for that, because really what they are doing, in my opinion, and I think the opinions of others, is they are doing social engineering via land planning. This is an anti-automobile, an anti, just, you know the list. And, it doesn't take long to figure that out. In 2003, the County of Riverside updated its general plan. We spent close to $20 million in the process. We held hearings after hearings after hearings. And the cornerstone of the county's general plan update was the concept of community centers. Now, most people think of community centers. In fact, I had a prominent county supervisor tell me or ask me after many public hearings, why do we need these community centers? Don't we have enough places for kids to play basketball and all of that? And what he didn't realize that the concept of community center were these very high density developments. They were wanting to go vertical. And what fascinated me was in the 3rd supervisorial district where I'm from, and that area is everything from Idlewild to Beaumont Banning down to Temecula out to the Paris area, so it's a very large district. It's seen a lot of growth. We had what we called the purple blobs on the maps, and these purple blobs were designated as community center developments, covering all of these parcels And the only way they were going to be able to implement it was through eminent domain. And as Bob has mentioned, and Wally has mentioned, if you look at this not with a conspiracy theory, but from a real world vision of how things work on the ground, that's the only way that the movement is going to be implemented. From a top-down, centralized, we know best, we're going to social engineer you all to death, and we're going to have you promptly at your train station as after you have walked to the latte place, and you're going to be happy commuting via rail however long it takes to this job that you're going to go to, and then you're going to come back and do the same thing over and over again. And it's unfortunate because, and I'm glad that there was a more than just a gripe session here, but there's going to be a call to arms, I hope, because most people don't understand what this movement is all about. And who, when the average person looks at this, what could be wrong with sustainability? What could be wrong with smart growth? And it's something that I've always come back to. It's always the law of unintended consequences. And when Bob was mentioning using this quote, I immediately jotted down that most of the planners that I come in contact with, I think, can basically sum up their philosophy of life and their philosophy of planning with the statement, I love humanity, it's people that really bother me. And I find that more and more and more as I'm dealing with these environmental issues. On the subject of AB 32, which is I kind of want to bring it back to what we're here today to talk in specifics. The other thing that is very frustrating to me, both from a planning side and reviewing plans, as well as, again, generating plans to be reviewed, is that we are now in a never land world of generating very expensive reports that mean absolutely nothing to anybody, that cost thousands of dollars, that one or two people are going to look at and say, well, they've complied with this, and put it in a drawer, and that's it. If anybody here knows anything about a greenhouse gas analysis, part of an environmental impact report, you will know that for the most part it is a complete waste of time and money. There is no baseline to compare any of these greenhouse gas emissions to. You basically fit the numbers to make them work, and it's very frustrating to anybody that's trying to make any kind of decisions on a plan to look at a report and say, all right, well, what are we really trying to get at here? Are we all just so, blinded now and have relegated ourselves to being these little automatons that just say, okay, we get this edict from Sacramento that we have to do this, that we're going to do it. We all know, this is all, it's really come to the point where we're all just kind of wink, 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 wink. Okay, we've done the greenhouse gas report. Poor guy spent $20,000 and took an extra 4 months to get it generated, and it means nothing. That's what the average person doesn't realize. And I have, talked to leaders of the Building Industry Association and others that say, and I've said, guys, when are you going to pony up the dough to let people know how much nonsense is involved in what we do here? Because the average person doesn't have a clue. So if there is a call to action tonight, I hope it is that, people start insisting on knowing where their gas tax dollars go, where their, if we start building new homes again, where the price of these homes really come down in terms of the amount of government regulation that is just nonsensical that goes into the price of an average home or average commercial development. And I thought I'd close with one other example of something that I just thought is just, something that, you know, you can't really dream these things up. I had the opportunity to spend some time with some folks from Texas recently, and they came out to California and were asking, they were in the development business. And, you know, they had heard about the overregulations in California, and they said, well, so what do you have to go through? You know, what's it like pulling building permits and getting plans approved? And I started giving them, you know, a typical case. And they looked at me like that I was making this stuff up. And you don't realize how absurd the whole thing has gotten until you try to explain it to somebody who doesn't have a clue. And then, I mean, halfway through, I'm thinking to myself, because I can see the look on their face, and I'm explaining this, and I stopped for a second, and I said, "This must sound very bizarre to you, doesn't it?" And they just said, "Yeah, you know, you're not making this stuff up, right?" And I said, "No, no." And that's how, I guess, how far we've come here in California, is that, you know, we don't think enough. We've accepted it. We've almost drunk the Kool-Aid ourselves, because as type A, developer type, builder type people, you know, we're focused on the result. And it's gotten to the point where we don't care what it takes to get us there. If we have to do all these nonsensical things, okay, fine, we'll do it. But the time for that is over, because what happens is it leads to this unintended consequence of people not understanding what the next step is, whether that's, you know, eminent domain to create this governmental vision, or the implementation of some kind of a top-down program where Sacramento, and it's certainly been suggested more than once, is going to get involved in our local planning efforts, because they don't see us, you know, accepting everything that they're going to do, no matter what they do. And in terms of incentivizing local governments to do what they want us to do, there's still this pushback, and it comes from people like us, basically, who are saying, time out, this isn't right. And I think what they are starting to figure out is that the only way they're going to make this work is by either tying the implementations of these plans to our share of gas taxes or our share of some other kind of taxes, because it's just something that is, pardon the pun, unsustainable. The fantasy that they have is unsustainable, and I think they know it. Thank you very much.